Why are U.S. universities protesting against Israel's war in Gaza? This question has been reverberating across the globe, and today we peel back the layers to understand the motivations and implications of these widespread demonstrations. In a wave of civil unrest reminiscent of the anti-Vietnam War protests of the 60s, U.S. universities have become hotbeds of dissent against the Israeli military offensive in Gaza. Students are taking to the streets, demanding an end to the violence, advocating for Palestinian freedom, and urging their institutions to cut financial ties with Israel. The protests have escalated in response to police crackdowns, with arrests and skirmishes becoming commonplace on campuses. One notable example is Columbia University, where demonstrators have occupied a campus building. The situation mirrors the protests in the 80s against South African apartheid, which successfully led to divestment. However, the stakes and challenges are different this time around. The geopolitical landscape is far more complex, with the U.S.-Israel relationship being a critical factor. The call for divestment from Israel is meeting with resistance, and the future of this movement remains uncertain. Adding to the complexity of the situation, the protests have sparked controversy over academic freedom and bias. At UC Berkeley, for instance, a faculty member, Victoria Hwine, was accused of bias and anti-Semitism after offering students extra credit for attending pro-Palestinian protests or lobbying Congress about Gaza. The incident led to a wider discussion on the role of educators in political activism and the potential implications for academic integrity. Amidst these campus protests, the geopolitical landscape continues to shift. The ongoing U.S.-Saudi oil dispute has strained relations and prompted President Biden to consider re-evaluating the U.S.-Saudi relationship. This development could potentially add another layer of complexity to the Middle East conflict and the U.S. stance on it. In summary, 4 key factors are shaping the massive protests in U.S. universities against Israel's war in Gaza. First, students are mobilizing against perceived complicity in violence and advocating for social justice. Second, the demand for divestment from Israel is escalating, with parallels to the anti-apartheid movement of the 80s. Third, the protests have sparked debates over academic freedom and bias, with incidents like the one at UC Berkeley stoking controversy. Finally, the shifting geopolitical landscape, particularly the U.S.-Saudi oil dispute, could potentially influence the trajectory of these protests. These demonstrations reflect a complex interplay of social, political, and academic factors. As the situation unfolds, the world watches, waits, and wonders, what will be the lasting impact of these protests, and how will they shape the future of U.S.-Israel relations? Only time will tell. Source: BBC News Mundo.